I'm so excited to tell you about the Kroger OptUp app. OptUp is your virtual assistant for healthier shopping. I've been using OptUp with my grocery shopping, and now I'm more mindful as I make food choices for my family at Kroger. What I love the most is how OptUp tracks my household score automatically based off what I'm purchasing at Kroger. OptUp also makes recommendations for healthier alternatives and nutrition facts of the foods we purchase. OptUp is very easy to use. Download it today in the App Store or Google Play. Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. It's another edition of the Produce Moms Podcast. And do we have a special guest for you today? I am very excited about today's guest. We have Lauren Scott. She is the CMO of the Produce Marketing Association. All of my colleagues, any of our faithful followers here at TPM, you guys know how important the Produce Marketing Association is to me as a young professional and an emerging brand within the fresh produce sector. I'm really excited because here today, we're going to learn more about the impact that PMA has on not just America, but really the whole wide world when it comes to fresh produce. And, Lauren's been a new addition to the organization and someone who has just, embraced me and empowered me. And it's very inspiring for myself to see a woman like Lauren be placed in the executive role, because now at PMA, you guys, not only is the CEO of the Produce Marketing Association a female, but now the CMO is as well. And that just warms my heart. It set a stage for all of us young female professionals within the industry to feel really empowered, and they're doing a lot of exciting stuff. So without further ado, warm welcome, a ton of gratitude, a big virtual sound hug to Lauren Scott. Lauren, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's so great to be here and hugging you back.
Thanks. So, Lauren, I have said this to professionals at the PMA. I have said it, to the people who follow the journey that I've had at TPM, as it's starting as a work for hire idea and then me purchasing it from my former employer and taking it on my own. One of the things I quickly identified in that journey as a small business with massive goals was I need PMA to do my job. And I've certainly, I'm a huge fan. I'm a member. I try to attend all the events that I can, but I would love for you to tell us more about the Produce Marketing Association, keeping in mind that, a lot of our listeners here within the Produce Moms podcast audience are not necessarily members of the industry, where they probably have never heard of the Produce Marketing Association unless they've, heard me talk about it. But what specifically I'd like to know, what are the goals of PMA and how does the work that you guys do impact households and produce moms like us everywhere?
Sure. The Produce Marketing Association is a global organization, member-led, in 46 countries around the world with 2,900 member companies. And our vision is to bring together the global produce and floral industry to grow a healthier world. And that healthier world is not only in consumers and what they eat, which is definitely related to your audience, but also in members and our members' prosperity. So when I think about what is the goal of PMA, it's to make our members' opportunities bigger while making their problems smaller, to enable them to grow and to thrive and to meet their goals. We are led by members for the members. We have over 400 volunteer leaders around the world. And it's really important because we we stay close to our members to really know what is important for them, what are some of the challenges, and then work together with the staff to help to guide to grow not only the produce industry within the industry, but also in the broader context. So specifically, how I think about what PMA does and how that taps into a mom, if you think about a mother's vision, it's starting a family, and it's all about growth for their child, growth for their family, for prosperity. And I think the produce industry is a lot like a family. I've worked in a couple of industries. I've never seen people be so close in terms of their relationships, their respect for each other, and competitive for sure. But it really is a family atmosphere. And when you think about moms and loving their children and nurturing them, but also giving them the tough love and support, there's a lot of the synergies between the soul of PMA and produce moms around the world.
Oh, I love that. I've never actually had someone articulate it like that. Truly, as you were saying that, I got, like chills down my spine. You guys, this really is true. What Lauren's saying about our industry having a lot of the same type of synergies and values that our households have. And I have said this before. I really don't. First of all, let's just look at the fact that we've got our global industry leadership accessible to our to members of PMA, to folks like me, and all of our listeners today. That right there speaks to essentially the family values that produce industry has. And Lauren, I love that you say that. I think this industry is so special, and everyone we talk to, kind of says the same thing. Tell us a little bit more about your background. You've got such an amazing, resume. If you guys look up Lauren Scott on LinkedIn, you're going to see what a superstar she is. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what kind of drew you in to working with the fresh fruit and vegetable industry and flowers.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for the kind words there. I've always been in consumer products. I was fortunate enough to be an intern when I got out of high school. So at 17, I started carrying a sales bag and worked at Colgate-Palmolive. I thought it was the best way to learn about the business, actually calling on grocery stores, merchandising, doing the resets, and trying to sell. I feel like I'm like a twerp trying to sell to these store managers. But it was a great foundation. And after I left Colgate, after I got out of school, I worked there. And then I worked at PepsiCo the majority of my career, 14 years up in New York, on a variety of different assignments within marketing. So really expand the gamut of big brand, small brand, food service, cultural branding, promotions, food service. It was a great opportunity to learn a lot about a lot of different businesses and to work with some of the smartest people that you'll find on the planet. Creative, fun, resourceful. And then I moved and I worked for Diageo because I wanted to work more globally. So I worked on the global Smirnoff business, which was a lot of fun. And then it really was a fluke. It was through a woman I used to work with at Smirnoff. This job description came in through her LinkedIn profile. And she said, "This sounds so random, but something that's exactly what you want to do," because it was working consultatively with a lot of different groups globally, marketing, and it fit everything that I would have on my wish list. So that's how I ended up here. And I feel like it was truly divine intervention and such a blessing to have the opportunity. And I'm just so happy to be here. And the 2 years that I've worked here, it'll be 2 years in October, I've spent a lot of time visiting members around the world, different types of members, from big companies to small companies like yourself with a boutique organization, and have learned so much, not only about the industry, but truly what the opportunities are. And I feel that we are ripe, not only in growing our industry, but in culture of how the industry in both produce and floral can take a very big role. My vision is that I want produce to be as sexy as tech. That's the vision that I have. And I truly think because we are food and we're supposed to be half the plate, we have an opportunity to command that level of voice and culture and influence.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. one reason I work so hard and passionately at what we do at the Produce Moms. I love hearing that. So, Lauren, you've been part of PMA now for just over 2 years. Is that accurate?
My first day was actually Fresh Summit, so that's an easy way for me to mark my anniversary.
Okay, great. So, within I mean, I will say that I've seen a seismic shift in some of the ways, and then when you take into consideration your background with all the consumer goods, working at PepsiCo for the largest chunk of your professional career, and then Diageo, and now with the produce industry, I'm really seeing that influence from the big brands you worked with in the past come into become accessible for the fresh produce industry in a way that it's a style of marketing, and frankly that I haven't seen in the 15 years that I've been part of this industry. But let's talk for a minute about the South by Southwest panel that you undoubtedly helped organize. I thought I voted for it. I helped promote, hey, vote for this, like on my LinkedIn and on Twitter. And I think it's such a profound topic, connecting our primal instincts and desires with fresh produce. And according to the video that you guys had on that panel selection page, PMA actually did some research on this topic. So can you shed some light on the research and your passions and vision as it relates to this panel topic that you guys have put together?
Sure. One thing I do want to say is that there's so much great work that's happening around the world that produce companies, like no influence by me, have been doing as far as innovation and packaging and branding. The produce industry has done a great job of listening to consumers and tapping into those opportunities. And you see a lot of that if you go to, of course, Fresh Summit, which is our big conference. So I don't want to by any means take credit for that, but you certainly can recognize some of the big brand CPG company tactics being used within the industry, and there's certainly an opportunity for us to do more of that, whether it's B2B or B2C. I think that taking that strategic approach of your business and your consumer is something that any industry can do. As far as South by, absolutely, I will take credit for that. That was a crazy idea that I had, that we took some volunteer leaders to last year, and we've put the panel in. And thank you so much for voting and for promoting it, because they've got so many different panelists that submit. But it's a topic that we have a lot of passion on. And yes, we did some research last year to get an understanding. Again, I come from a consumer products background, so I always start with the consumer to get an understanding of where they are. And what we found, and we know this from a lot of different research, that particularly when it comes to either eating food that's healthy or exercise is another good example, right, what people say they do and what they claim to do is very different than what they actually do. So think about it. How many times a week do you exercise? Oh, I exercise 3 times a week. But the reality is, and particularly if we're talking about moms, things get busy, things come up, and you don't have the opportunity to do that. The research that we did, which was primary research, which means that we actually did the research ourselves, said the same thing about produce. What people say they eat and what they claim to eat is not what they actually eat. And also the reasons why people eat produce, and here's the exciting part, is much broader than we even claim to. So a lot of times we think about produce as healthy, and we market produce as healthy, and the governments market produce as healthy, and you should eat it because of all of these reasons, and we know that. But the reality is that we're boxing ourselves in to only one area where there's like 6 other reasons why people eat food. For example, it's socially acceptable, or they're looking for a certain flavor profile, or they want something refreshing. So getting an understanding of why people eat food, we have an opportunity to look at our produce products and figure out how we can market them or communicate the qualities that they have to meet consumers, not only when they're looking for things that are healthy, but when they're looking for foods that meet the other needs. My general bend is that produce sales are not going to increase because they're mandated. We need governments to support it, and we need schools to give access, and we need it to be prepared well. But we need to compete on a level playing field with all the other choices that people have. And so if you think about from a mom's perspective, you want a food that you can give your child that they're going to be excited about, that they love to eat, and that's tasty. And we need to make sure that we put produce on a level playing field of the other foods that are doing that. And the research shows that we absolutely have that opportunity and the right to do that.
So what is the timeline for the South by? Do you know if you're going to, like, when are we going to know if the panel is accepted?
We will know in early October. So as you can imagine, we're all biting all our fingernails off, but we should know, I would say, in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, if the panel was selected. But I have to say, it truly warms my heart, regardless of what happens. It truly warms my heart, all the notes that I got from people that said, hey, I voted for it, and I promoted it, and I sent it to my mom. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not so much about South by Southwest. I mean, it's an amazing property, and I really hope that we have an opportunity to do it. But it's really, again, about the family of the produce industry, of driving a bigger conversation, not only amongst ourselves, but in the outside world. And doing that research gives us the opportunity to do that as well.
That's great. Well, yes, fingers crossed, no doubt. And
fingers, eyes, and toes crossed.
Yes. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about something that is very important to me, and undoubtedly a lot of our other followers and female listeners. PMA has really done a remarkable job with, creating this culture of workplace equality and female empowerment within the produce industry. When I started in produce about 15 years ago, I was working at the wholesale distribution stage of the supply chain. I was the only female in my entire office setting. And that stat has undoubtedly shifted with my former employer. And I've seen a lot of shift just, as someone who participates in the produce industry, I've seen a huge shift in that. And I think one of the catalysts behind this pendulum swing is undoubtedly the Produce Marketing Association with what you guys do in terms of female leadership programming. So I'd love to use just a few more minutes now to talk about the work PMA does for women, because I think it's among some of the best work that you guys do.
Yeah, I agree. The member leadership here at PMA had the foresight about 10 years ago to focus on the needs of the industry for talent. So that's regardless of level, gender, age, or experience, of how can we attract, develop, and retain the best talent within the produce industry. And so that organization is called Center for Growing Talent. It's a 501c3, which focuses on industry talent. Right. As part of that, there's a whole suite of programs for anybody within the industry. But you're absolutely right, Lori, that the programming, the women's programming and the women's breakfast have particularly resonated very strongly. I think it's one because, to your point of the context of 15 years ago, if you're the only woman, that can be very, very lonely. So it provides an opportunity for people to come together, and it's not to commiserate, as you know. It's really to empower and to inspire. I went to the women's conference a couple of years ago, and I walked away incredibly inspired and connected in a way that you may not have an opportunity to do. I mean, I'm fortunate that in our building there are a lot of women that work here, but some people don't have that experience. So to know that there are people that are in a similar position and thriving, let's say, or running companies. I mean, we have a lot of women like yourself that are running companies, running big companies within the produce industry, that sometimes if you could just look up and see that person, it gives people the hope and the encouragement and the nudging. And I think that's some of the programming that Center for Growing Talent, particularly around empowering and inspiring women, has done. But what I also really love about the programming is it's the men that are supporting women and their career and their choices and their desires to thrive within the industry. And again, it goes back to that family aspect, that people see the other people in the industry as part of the family and want to support them, and would never want them to be in pain or to feel alone. So the Center for Growing Talent is by far, when I go around, it always comes up. Talent, how do we attract talent to the industry, and how do we support them? And women certainly are a big proportion of that work.
Right. Yeah, no, I've learned so much, and the professional development that has been made available to me as a PMA member and as someone who is a participant in the foundation work is amazing. Like in October at Fresh Summit, I will have the opportunity to listen to Lindsey Vonn speak. How exciting is that?
It's amazing. It's amazing. That breakfast is always sold out. It is the hottest ticket at Fresh Summit. So I'm thrilled that you have an opportunity, and I think Lindsey's story is very inspiring and very amazing, and it's a perfect example of what the Center for Growing Talent has been able to do for people in the industry.
Yeah, and you know what? Since I've been attending that breakfast, which it's been about 5 years now, every single year, you guys, there's a remarkable speaker that comes in, and it's just a huge takeaway. Oftentimes, I leave that breakfast, which is early in the morning, really before a lot of the business even gets rolling at PMA, and I think, wow, well, my trip has been worth it just based off my takeaways. Phenomenal speaker, but no, it really is, and it's a great example of how PMA. Does exactly what your mission is focused on, and the member empowerment and creating solutions for the problems that your members have. And, even in things like your women's breakfast, everything's very deliberate and with great purpose and comes right back to that PMA mission. So love it. And very much looking forward to seeing you at the breakfast, Lauren.
I look forward to seeing you as well.
Yeah. So we're coming close to the end of our time today, but what is as someone who's, you've been so involved with consumer goods and the food industry for a very long time, and now in a leadership position with PMA, love to know what your prediction is for the next big trend in food.
Yeah, produce taking the center of the plate at home and in restaurants. Yeah, and I think what the unlock is how you actually cook the produce to optimize the flavor and the versatility. Because I truly believe that people are discovering that produce tastes really good, and it's so versatile, and it's actually pretty easy, and it's healthy for you. So that's the next big trend.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Yes, the power of plants. You're not the only guest who said that. We ask a lot of people who have unique, roles within the food industry that have been guests on this show. And I will say almost all of them, their answer to that question has been something that's produce centric, and that's it's awesome to hear that and to hear you say it with so much confidence. I certainly agree with you. And I've seen the shift even in my eating habits, even someone who's worked in the produce industry for 15 years, I've seen how within the last couple years, I'm eating more and more fruits and vegetables and less, smaller serving sizes of the other items that fill my plate. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think the meal kit are really helping in that tipping point, because they're exposing people to different types of produce prepared in the optimum way. And so what happens in the meal kits, granted that doesn't affect every consumer, but then you start to see it in retail, or you'll start to see those recipes come to retail, or you'll start to see them, of course, come into food service. So it's a really exciting time to be in the produce industry for sure.
No doubt. Yes. So Lauren, where can our listeners go to learn more about what's happening at PMA?
Yeah, to learn more, you can, of course, go to pma.com, which is our website. You can read about our vision and our mission and what our strategic focus is. And then specifically for Fresh Summit, if you're in the industry, freshsummit.com is where you can go to learn about our big family reunion, which happens every October, and pma.com is our main website. And then, of course, any members can reach out to staff or one of our volunteer leaders anytime.
Yeah. And I will say, you guys, if you are a member of the produce industry, you need to also be a member of PMA. It's important, and the access that this organization provides to all members, large and small, is, it's a game changer. So, and I will see everyone at Fresh Summit who's listening to this. It is the must-attend event of the year. It is like the Super Bowl of our industry, or the big ball, the prom, Cinderella's ball. It's the big deal. So we will see you all there. Gosh, Lauren, this has been a really enjoyable episode. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all that you do for our industry. The innovation that you are bringing, and the style of marketing that you're pushing us into is really exciting. Everyone at PMA has been very accommodating to me and my business, and very encouraging, which that's a game changer when you're in an entrepreneurial situation. And so thank you so much for what you're doing. Thanks for shedding more light on this topic of primal instincts with fresh produce. And I love your line: what we say we eat and what we claim to eat is very different from what we want to eat. And, but you're so right with the way that, everything from meal kits to, marketing campaigns, Instagram, everything's getting people to think about bringing that produce right to the center of the plate and eating more fresh produce, which is awesome. And I would say that in my closing, I just want to remind people that, hey, we consider flowers part of the produce, family as well. And that is something that really PMA taught me. So definitely, everything beautiful for your home, your body. That's really what PMA is all about. And I am so thankful that you were here, Lauren, today. But we always give our guests the last word. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you for your closing remarks and to tell all of our listeners goodbye.
Thank you so much, Gloria, again for the opportunity. It's always so great to speak with you. And for all the folks that are working in produce, our time is now. We are hot in culture. We are relevant. And it's our time to seize the opportunity. And marketing is a great tool for all of us to help to grow a healthier world together. So thank you again, Lori, for this opportunity to speak with you. I always enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.